This is the AndyCine A6 Field monitor. It's got a full HD screen, it can take 4K HDMI input, it can be easily flipped round for vlogging, and it can even power your camera, and it only costs £189. The AndyCine A6 monitor, the first thing you'll notice is this swivel arm here. This screws just into the side of the monitor and then slots into the hot shoe, and the design probably looks a little bit familiar.
For change, I'm outdoor, I'm in the small XD booth because we have the smallest field monitor that you can view in direct sunlight.
So thanks to this arm, you can easily flip the screen between front and rear facing, or you can just adjust it so that it's at a more comfortable viewing angle. If you don't want to use the arm, then there is just a screw thread socket on the bottom, so you can just use an adapter and put it on the hot shoe, kind of like you would with a normal monitor. Now, in terms of build quality, it's lightweight and, well, it's a bit plasticky, to be perfectly honest, as is the film shade, which is very flimsy, and it just slots onto the side here via sort of hook and loop material. Now, on the plus side, all of this plastic keeps it very lightweight and portable, so kind of the monitor itself without all the accessory bits is about 200 grams, and of course all that plastic helps to keep that price at that sort of £189 as well. So the screen, full HD 1920 1080, but it can accept a 4K input through the HDMI. Operating the monitor, very straightforward. We've got a row of 8 buttons just along the top here. Now, one of these buttons, of course, is the power button, which is this one just here. And then we've got a menu button. We've got some directional buttons here. We've got sort of left and right and up and down. But then these 4 buttons also act as function buttons. And you can program these function buttons to do a variety of things. They allow really quick access so that you can turn on and off features like zebra patterning, focus peaking, and it's probably worth setting one of these buttons up as a screen flip, because as you tilt the screen from front to back, the image is actually upside down. There's no sensor to detect that you flipped it. So this is the menu screen, and there's a ton of stuff that you can control out here, all the usual things that you expect to be able to change. And like I say, you navigate using those buttons. It looks kind of a bit old, a bit dated. It's not a touch screen, but it's functional and it works. And you can use it straight out the box. If you don't want to set anything up, just plug in the HDMI on the side here and it works. On the bottom here, we've also got a headphone socket, so you can monitor audio through here, and that's useful if you don't have a headphone socket on your camera. If you've just got kind of a microphone in or HDMI out, use the monitor for audio monitoring as well. So powering the unit, it's done with the standard Sony NPF 970 brick batteries. Now these things are pretty big. You don't get one included, but they're easy enough to get hold of. If you're a videographer, filmmaker, chances are you've already got some of these for powering a load of different stuff, lights, etc. These batteries are, just huge and they last for ages. Now, one annoyance which when it comes to the battery is that they power the monitor, but it keeps powering the monitor even if you turn the monitor off. The monitor just kind of stays in a standby mode. So it's best to actually remove the battery when it's not in use, so you're not using just a tiny bit of power the whole time. Now, if you don't want to use batteries, then there is a 12-volt input here. You don't get a power supply with the monitor, but they're easy enough to pick up a 12-volt power supply and just plug that in here. And via the feature that I'm going to tell you about in a second, you can actually get this 12-volt power supply when you plug it in to power the monitor and your camera. So that's really useful if you're working in a studio environment. Now, besides the tilting arm, the other key feature of this is the fact that you can actually power your camera via the monitor and the battery pack. There's an 8-volt power output here, and if I just unplug this, you can use one of these dummy batteries here to actually power your camera. So that goes into the monitor, that goes into your camera to replace the existing battery, and then you're good to go. Everything is being powered off of the main battery on the back of the monitor. Now, obviously, I've got the dummy battery for a Sony here, but you can purchase these dummy batteries for virtually sort of any camera that you want. Just have a little hunt round on Amazon and eBay, and you can pick these up for about £10 or £15, I think. Now, I've also found that you can use the smaller MPF 550 batteries. Now, these are the same size in terms of attaching to the plate, but they're obviously not as powerful. Now these will power the monitor, but they don't provide quite enough power to power a monitor and a camera. At least I've tried a few different ones of these and they've all had the same result. There's not enough to power both at the same time from these, but they're obviously a lot smaller and less bulky than carrying a 970 around. So if you want to use the battery in your camera, you don't want to use the external power option, then one of these is going to obviously save you a little bit of weight and size and just use the camera's internal battery. Now I mentioned before that when you turn the monitor off, you are in effect only putting the screen on standby. Now this actually becomes useful here because it means that you can power your camera with the monitor display turned off, which is good for times when you just don't want to use the monitor, you want to save a bit of the power in that battery. So brightness wise, it's a 460 nit screen. As a comparison, a 15-inch MacBook Pro is 500 nits and my iPhone 7 Plus has a brightness of 625 nits. Now in real terms, this means that you'll be fine indoors with this monitor and you're outside in overcast conditions, but when you get outside on a bright sunny day, you're going to struggle a little bit. I used it in Venice for the launch of the Sony RX100 Mark VI. But when I came to reviewing the footage, I kind of really had to have the shade over and shield it to be able to look at the screen, and I kind of had to cut my hands like that to be able to see what was going on and see all those close details. In terms of the sharpness and the resolution, the screen seems spot on to me. It's got a 1400:1 contrast ratio, and that combined with the full HD resolution, the 5.7-inch real estate, it's really nice compared to kind of squinting at the rear screen and trying to see details here. And we've got zebra patterning on here, focus peaking, you can see false colors, histograms, grids, center spot markers, all the usual stuff that you'd expect from a monitor. Now the one thing you can't do is load LUTs onto here to be able to sort of preview what S-Log footage is going to look like. However, for the price of this monitor, you shouldn't really expect that. It takes a bit of processing power to be able to do that. And again, it's only a £189 monitor. Now you can adjust the colors on here, the RGB values, but that's really for just making sure that the display is, pretty perfect, kind of calibrating it and making sure that it's okay. And you're getting kind of similar colors to like you'd see on the rear screen. Now, in terms of latency, the monitor is pretty good. It's got that kind of standard. There's a tiny bit there, you can kind of see it. I'm just looking on the monitor there. You can kind of see there's a tiny bit of latency, but that is actually really caused by sort of going through the HDMI. It's kind of standard and it's very close to real time. It shouldn't really affect your filming in any way at all, really. So that's the AndyCine 4K monitor. It's kind of plastic, low build quality. The menu system looks a little bit dated, but it's functional, it works. But the tilt arm and having the full HD display plus a ton of features like focus peaking and zebra patterning make it really good value for money at £189. Just remember to budget in possibly for the external power pack, the battery and the dummy battery if you want to power your camera. Oh, and a nice neat short HDMI cable as well. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you've enjoyed it, we try and upload videos like this on a weekly basis. So hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest photo gear news and reviews.